Hello and welcome to our short recording on the central pathways that convey pain and temperature sensation. So when we talk about pain and temperature sensation, we are particularly talking about these free nerve endings, and there's all different types of free nerve endings that are sensitive to different sensory modalities such as pain or temperature in particular. So much like with our dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway, there are three neurons in this pathway. You have the primary or first order neuron that comes in. It then synapses directly onto the second order in the dorsal horn at the level of the spinal cord that it comes in. That second order neuron then decussates in the spinal cord and travels up the anterior lateral system, or it's also known as the spinothalamic system. That then goes all the way up to our VPL nucleus of the thalamus, which was the same as our dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway, and synapses onto the third order. The third order then goes out to our primary somatosensory cortex. So essentially we're talking about in our schematic the same arrows, but we're now talking about a different pathway, and that pathway is to do with pain and temperature sensation, conscious because it's getting to the primary somatosensory cortex. Now, when we talk about the first order neuron, we're talking about those free nerve endings. They fire off if there's some sort of heat stimulus or pain stimulus. They then come in, and they come in and synapse in the dorsal horn. So what we can see down here is that synapsing in the dorsal horn. In reality, those rexed laminae that we've talked about earlier, those in particular the first 5 to 6 layers, we have different sensory modalities going to different areas of those rexed laminae or different zones. For our purposes, we don't really need to know the difference. We just need to know that both our C fibers and our delta fibers, they come in, they synapse onto the second order in that dorsal horn before then immediately the second order neuron immediately decussating. Once it decussates, it is traveling up our anterior lateral system all the way up until it gets to the VPL nucleus, ventral posterior lateral nucleus of the thalamus, and synapses onto the third order. The third order then travels all the way up to our primary somatosensory cortex. And we still are talking about that homunculus, whereby we have that localization ability of that sensation. So for instance, if we're talking about pain and temperature from the lower body, let's say from the calf, for instance, the left calf, it comes in. We've got a cut or we've been kicked in the back of the calf, let's say. That information comes in. We then have the synapse onto the second order, immediately decussates, travels up our anterior lateral system, all the way up to our VPL, synapses onto the third, and then it will go out to the leg portions. So if it's the calf, it's going to be out here somewhere on that primary somatosensory cortex or on the homunculus. If we're talking about the left hand, for instance, then same principle, first order in, synapse onto the second order in the dorsal horn, immediately decussates, travels all the way up to the VPL nucleus, and then our third order neurons in this case go out to our hand portions of the homunculus. So that is our pathway for pain and temperature sensation, and in reality crude touch, because we need to localize in a sense where that stimulus is coming from on the surface of the body. Thanks for listening, and talk to you soon.